Jay here for Stretford Paddock. That is Finn, otherwise known as Academy Scoop. And this is Academy Review, where we look at Manchester United's under-21s and under-18s sides. Now, I was going to say, this is where you cheer us up, because usually when you come on here with Finn every week, the first team have been doing terribly, the Academy teams have been doing really well, but the first team are doing well. So asking you, is this going to sort of increase our happiness, this review?
I think it can boost the already existing happiness. I don't need to pick you up from any kind of depression from the first team being rubbish this time round. Just positive after positive, and I think lots of good things to talk about.
This feels weird. We're
it's
talking
really
about lots
strange,
of good things at Manchester United across the board. What is going on?
Yeah.
Long may it continue.
Doesn't feel right.
It doesn't. Where do you want to start?
Let's start with the under-21s, I reckon.
Yeah.
This week, not much to talk about in terms of the under-18s because their game wasn't broadcast, but we'll get to that. The 21s were facing Tottenham Hotspur in the PL2 last Saturday at home at Lee Sports Village. And coming into the game, Travis Binion's side had won every single game in this competition, 6 wins from 6, top of the league. So really, really strong start from this side. Again, I'd put that down to kind of partially the fact that most of this team is comprised of under-18 players from last year and the year before who we've seen be so successful. So we're kind of seeing the continuation of the progress of those players, and that's why they're having so much success at this level. Spurs are also a really good side. Came into the game, I think, with 5 wins from 6. Got a few really highly rated players. Luca Williams-Barnett is one that gets talked about a lot. Malachi Hardy, Callum Olasesi. These are established England youth players. So really, really decent side, and maybe one of the stronger sides that this under-21 side have faced so far in the league. But it was a very good day for them. I'd say they started the better of the two sides in the first 10 minutes, but United quickly found their groove. Shea Lacey had a really, really bright start to the game, almost acting as more of a kind of playmaking outlet than a goal threat. We know the level of talent that Shea Lacey is. He can kind of do it all. One of those players that's just a bit of a wizard technically, but can also be a goal threat.
We were talking off camera, me, you, the production team, and we're in danger of becoming the Shea Lacey / JJ Gabriel channel here, aren't we? Because those in particular stand out almost every week. I know there's a lot of other talented youngsters which you're going to talk about, but we're just sort of running out of good things to say about Shea Lacey. It's just so great to see him injury-free, doing well, doing what he does so better than almost anyone. Yeah,
I've said it a few times about Lacey and a couple of other players. At academy level, there are sometimes players where you'll notice United fans seem to be tuning into games more just so that they can see what these specific young players are about. I remember it happening with Kobbie Mainoo. There was a real kind of boost in viewership of the academy games during the time he was in the under-18s and under-21s. Seen similar with Shea Lacey. Now we're seeing similar with JJ Gabriel coming into the under-18s. These are players that kind of single-handedly make you want to watch these sides, see what they're about, see kind of the level of talent that people are talking about, and see why there's so much hype around these players. And Lacey's one of those players that proves it every time he steps foot on a pitch. The issues with him and his development have never been his talent or his kind of application. We know he's struggled with injuries, but as of late, it looks like he's, fingers crossed, touch wood, out of the woods, when it comes to his injuries. He's, managed to string together a lot of games where he stayed fit. And he had a great start to this game. A few really, really kind of inventive balls over the top. At one point, it looked like he was kind of play a back pass from the touchline, facing the other direction, and then kind of chipped it against his body angle over the top to Biancheri to play him in behind. But eventually, Biancheri opened the scoring. It was Shea Lacey with the cross. Really, really nice weighted cross into his feet, but he still had a lot of work to do. He had kind of a defender on each side, but brought the ball down well, played it through, and then finished nice and simple into the bottom left corner to open the scoring. So that was 1-0 in the first half. And it was kind of just domination from there for United. There were some really bright performances. One of them from Diego Leon, who obviously signed in the summer, came in from Paraguay. I think it's fair to say he's had a bit of an adaptation period. I've seen some criticism about his early performances. What
do you make of that criticism? Because I've seen it as well. I haven't watched him as much as you have. Do you think it's been warranted? Do you think it's been harsh? What's your take on it?
I think I understand, why these things are being said about maybe him looking a little bit untidy technically, a little bit unrefined, but equally I think it's very normal for a player of his circumstances coming in from a different country. Obviously a big jump in the level of football, especially technically. We know that he's been brought in because he's a fantastic athlete and does have a lot of promise technically as well, and this was one of the games where he started to kind of knit that together and seem like a more kind of refined, complete player. So I think that judgment is a little bit premature and a little bit unfair on him, because some players need a bit of a bedding in period to really kind of find their feet. Got to remember I don't think he speaks fluent English yet, and he's coming into a completely new environment. But yeah, it looked really, really positive. Biancheri actually in the first half got his second goal. This one was a really, really beautiful team goal. Kind of nice exchange of play between Leon, Scanlon, Fitzgerald and Biancheri was on the receiving end at the end. Really, really nice team goal. And was able to tap home on the edge of the box. Somewhere in there was a nice reverse pass from Fitzgerald, who's also been really, really bright as of late. Him and Shea Lacey kind of came through in the same age group and played a lot for England's younger age groups a couple of years ago. Both of them struggled with injuries, but now this season they've really kind of come back into the fray. And I really like what I've seen from Fitzgerald. And it is, to be honest, United have so many top quality midfielders. I think it's an area where in the last few years we've really, really shone in terms of producing midfielders. Jim Thwaites is another one, Jacob Devaney. And I have a little bit of worry with... there's so much positivity at the moment to talk about with Amorim and the first team. My only worry is that we have so many of these top quality midfielders and I don't know if there's a space for all of them.
Because it does feel like there's almost one spot in that team, like in the first team. Yeah. Because Bruno Fernandes isn't going anywhere.
You're not going to play over Bruno.
You're not going to play over Bruno, as Kobbie Mainoo's finding out. The number 10s, which aren't technically midfielders anyway, you've got too many of them. When you've got Mount, Cunha and Bumo, even Ahmad can play there. I mean, that is a sort of... And you haven't got Carabao Cup or European football. I just hope that these kids get a chance. I hope next season we're back in Europe, there's more games. These players are obviously a year older, and we might be in a scenario where we can start giving them some game time, because... No, there's nothing better. Me and you spoke about extensively than seeing a player come through the academy, getting into the first team and doing well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've just got to keep our fingers crossed that there are going to be chances for them. I think it looks a little bit. You see someone like Kobbie Mainoo, who we know how we know what he's capable of. He started that Euros final, basically won United the FA Cup alongside Garnacho. So to see someone like him not get minutes in this side, and then you look at all of these younger midfielders who are trying to kind of make their way into the first team, it's going to be really difficult. But I think it's kind of healthy competition. I think it's positive because it'll only push those levels up further. So yeah, hopefully we see them given a chance. And Fitzgerald is another one who fits into that category. So Spurs did find their way kind of back into the game in the second half. They managed to pull one back through Callum Olusesi. Bit of confusion in the box, a few kind of tame efforts to clear the ball for United, and it fell to the feet of Olusesi, who was able to finish from close range, which made it a really kind of competitive affair going into the second half. I'd say this was one of the better games that I've watched at this level this season. Really, really competitive, really high level of football being played. So that's always nice to see, alongside obviously the individual development that's on show. But second half, United were able to kind of find their feet again. And it was Diego Leon who scored his first goal in the Manchester United shirt. Obviously, he's built on that kind of positive start to the game that he had. And this was a fantastic solo goal right from his own half. Just drove straight through the middle with the ball, brushed a few players off on each side, just showed really kind of incredible power, strength and speed. Bit of a bulldozer through the middle, and he was able to get his finish off with the right foot, which actually, in contrast to how powerful the run was, it was a really nice kind of delicate finish. So brilliant to see for him, and it clearly meant a lot to him to get his first goal in a United shirt. So really, really positive to see him kind of stepping up and kind of finding his feet in a United shirt. And United kind of continued to cruise from that point on. There were some really positive performances from the likes of Jack Fletcher. Again, Shea Lacey continued to be fantastic with his creativity from that right hand side. So many just genius sounds a bit exaggerating.
Well,
but
if the cap fits.
Yeah. Some of the passes that he pulls off, you would have never seen them and never thought about trying to execute them. Unfortunately, in the second half, he actually had to come off. He landed a bit awkwardly on his shoulder going down, but I don't think it's anything serious. I think he continued to train this week. And eventually, Biancheri was rewarded for all of his hard work throughout the 90. He put in such a shift, linking play, pressing, defending from the front. He was able to complete his hat-trick. It was, he was slipped in by Jack Fletcher from the left-hand side of the pitch, basically one-on-one with the goalkeeper. Really, really simple finish for him. But yeah, he would have been delighted for that because it was a fantastic performance. I'd say he was my man of the match, kind of star of the show for this game. And yeah, United in the PL2 sit first place, 7 wins out of 7. Beautiful start to the season. Beautiful start to the season, it really is. And it's good to see, I mean, we've mentioned him earlier, but Diego Leon obviously getting that goal, a solo goal, and just we want to see him just having these little steps forward. Yeah.
And I think, maybe settling some nerves, just reminding everyone why we bought him as well, because it's not easy to go from sort of being scouted in Paraguay to end up at Manchester United. There's a reason that happened, and I think we're seeing signs of why that is. And obviously Biancheri getting a hat-trick, there's nothing better than that. And Shea Lacey, man, every time you talk about him, every time I see the clips, every time I see anything about him, just continue to be impressed. And obviously he was training with the England team, Thomas Tuchel's noticed him, or certainly the England scouts have noticed him enough to have him training with the England first team, and it'd just be great to see him stay injury free. And get a chance.
Absolutely, I think he's, in terms of the creativity that we see Brian Mbeumo offer from the right wing for United, I'd say he's one of the few other players who could step into that role and kind of provide similar in terms of his crosses, playing players in behind. Obviously, with the form Brian Mbeumo's in, it's going to be incredibly hard to fill his shoes, maybe during AFCON, but I think that time over the winter could be a really good chance for him to get his debut.
That's a great point. I know we've discussed this before.
Yeah.
Do you think there is sort of a pathway to him being in the first team during AFCON?
I think it feels to me, and there are kind of some rumblings from inside the club, that there is a bit of a plan there for at least a few academy players to be integrated kind of over the winter period to fill in for the likes of Brian Mbeumo, Ahmad and Mazraoui, who will all be on international duty for AFCON. And yeah, I think in terms of profile, Shea Lacey is easily the best fit to take that kind of right number 10 role. Loves to play on kind of the inside of the pitch and be creative, and he can also be a goal threat. And I wouldn't be surprised if you saw someone like Bendito Mantato fill in for Ahmad, for example. Obviously, United can look internally with the first team, for example, playing Bruno in the right 10, or just Dallo, or maybe Dorgu on the right. But I really hope that there is at least a chance for these younger players to be given an opportunity, because I truly believe that a couple of them are at the level where they could make an impact and wouldn't look too far out of place. So yeah, hopefully that is the case.
That'd be great to see if that happens.
Yeah, and I think it's been a while since we've really seen an academy player be integrated into the first team.
I feel like I think you're right, and I think the academy slightly in some quarters, not by us obviously, certainly not by you, but it's almost been not forgot about, but looked down on a little bit at times, because you see a lot of the negative stories about mainly former academy products, like all the stuff about Garnacho.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of anger towards Rashford, and Mainoo's not getting in the team. And it's a bit like, is this, what's going on with the academy kind of thing. I mean, you can almost forget we've got all these immensely talented younger players who could do a job for Manchester United, and one of the reasons they're not getting in the team isn't because they're not good enough in terms of their ability or whatever. It's because, for once, we haven't got that many injuries. Mm-hmm. We've only got one game a week. So it's not like even last season where you needed people like Chido to come in. I know we got him from Arsenal, but he was coming in as a youngster. Whereas this season, you've not really needed that, have you, as much? So it's been a bit of a different one. So yeah, I'd love to see that happen, because we're going to have to do something when we lose these players. So why not? Because I can't see United going out. I mean, it wouldn't even be, because is it December and January after?
Yeah.
So you wouldn't even be able to go out and get anyone for that.
I mean, even if you signed someone at the start of January, AFCON would only have a couple of weeks left.
Yeah, so you've got to get from within. And whilst there is, there's a way you could probably do it in the first team, why not give one of these younger players a chance, especially someone like Shea Lacey, who's just absolutely smashing it. Good stuff to see the the lads winning 4-1 against Spurs as well. Good Spurs team.
Yeah.
Now I think you want to talk about the under-18s.
Yeah, just briefly. We won't dwell on this one for too long. The match wasn't broadcast because kickoff was at the same time as the Spurs game. MUTV were only able to show one, which on one hand I understand, but equally Spurs, for example, their subscription service allows them to stream both the 18s and 21s at the same time, and you can pick between them. So for a club of United's size and resources, I don't think that should be too far-fetched to expect.
Can we not just pretend to be best in class now and again? Do you know what I mean?
That's their whole
Can we not
stick,
just have the facade that we think we are, instead of just giving up? We can
only do one at a time.
Do you think we are? Do you think we're the biggest club in England, if not Britain, if not the world?
Yeah. And to be clear, that's not a criticism of the people working within MUTV, but the club and their...
Speak for yourself. I blame them personally.
Yeah.
I think it's their fault.
Well, okay. I'll leave that with you. So yeah, we won't dwell on this one for too long, but it was a 1-0 loss to Sunderland, unfortunately. I think we've seen a little bit of a slip in form for this side. Obviously, Darren Fletcher's first season coaching the under-18s, and I think mainly what we're seeing is a result of him playing some very, very young teams. I think it's been a bit of a change in the philosophy for the under-18s. I think Adam Lawrence, although he was an excellent developer of young players, he was also quite result-oriented and, made sure that he put out a team that could definitely get the result. I think Darren Fletcher is kind of seems a little bit more focused on playing a really young side and focusing almost entirely on development and kind of fast-tracking of the, most highly rated young players. So this is to be expected, and I don't think it's the end of the world, to be honest. Nicky Butt came out, I think maybe last week, saying he's tired of people saying that academy football is just about the result, just about development, and the results don't matter. I think there's a balance to be had there. I think you have to, at some point, you have to forego just focusing on results for the sake of making sure that there's a pathway and that there's development to be had for the best young players, even if they are a couple years younger, and even if it does sacrifice a couple of results. So yeah, United dropped to second, so it's not like we've got a crisis in the under-18 North League. City sit first, 3 points ahead with a game in hand, unfortunately. Cheating
bastards.
Yeah, the whole league's rigged anyway.
Of course.
So yeah, JJ Gabriel featured, who obviously, we know how talented he is. He took part in his first 11v11 first team training session.
Are we going to keep him or what, Finn? Talk to me. I don't want to get carried away, because every time I speak to you, or my other mate, Judy, who's a big fan of his, or whatever I see about JJ Gabriel, same with Shea Lacey, you see his clips, you see the stats, you see the performances, you see the hype, you see what everyone's saying about him, you see people that you trust like you, who watch a lot of academy football and say there is something special with him, and I get really excited and I think there's a chance that he doesn't stick around at Manchester United Football Club.
Yeah, I think United are faced with a problem that they usually don't even have to contemplate. I think the one thing that United's academy is fantastic at is that we usually retain our best players consistently. We never usually have to worry too much about losing our best players to rivals or clubs abroad. So we're kind of confronted with an issue where, there is the possibility that a Real Madrid or a Barcelona comes in for him when he turns 16. He does hold an Irish passport, so he is eligible for a move to Europe or obviously another Premier League side. All I can say is that this summer he's committed at least his short-term future to United. Him and the people around him were satisfied with the plan that has been laid out. A lot of promises have been made to him, and United are going to do everything in their power that they can to make sure that he feels at home and it feels valued, kind of representative of how highly he's rated. So I don't have a crystal ball. I can't tell you whether he's going to stay or not, but I think there's genuine hope and kind of confidence from within that he does see a future at United.
Are we going to max dominate and just give him a first team debut when he's out?
I think it
just turns 15.
It seems like it's going in that way. He's just turned 15 and he's been training with the first team. Probably took the piss in training, and if that's what it takes to keep him at the club and give him a future.
For it. Bring him on, give him a cameo, get him, tied to United and feeling like he's wanted, which I'm sure he is. Fair enough. Not much more to say about that one then.
No, I think we'll move on to the 21s now.
Let's just quickly though, before we do, just on Darren Fletcher and what's going on there. We've spoken about him and how well he's been doing. He's not sort of dimmed any of his lustre recently, has he?
I don't think so.
Mitigating circumstances, everyone can see that.
Yeah, I think there are kind of obvious factors to consider. United are missing Louis Bradbury, who has been injured since the summer. He's a first-year scholar that is very highly rated, plays as a number 9, represents Wales internationally, and scored a lot of goals for United's under 16s and under 15s in the past couple of seasons, and made a few under 18 cameos. So I think they're missing him up front. And again, it's a very young team, so I think these kind of slight dips in form are to be expected, and no reason for panic. So yeah,
good stuff. Let's talk about the under 21s against Rochdale then.
So United were facing Rochdale on Tuesday evening in the National League Cup. United were wearing black armbands and held a minute of silence in light of the really, really sad passing of Reece Bennett's father, David Bennett, over the weekend. Obviously devastating news, and I believe United are, giving a lot of support to him, off the pitch to make sure that him and his family are supported. So obviously all of our thoughts, are with Reece Bennett and his family. Because that's absolutely heartbreaking news to hear.
No, it really is. Well said. Like you've just said, just what I repeat it, really. Just thoughts with his family and friends, and I hope he's getting the support that he needs. This game had a bit of a weird start. Yeah. Which isn't something I've seen very often in a football match.
No, it's silly, to be honest. It was a bit controversial. So Rochdale were kicking off. The first thing they did was booted the ball out of the pitch and made 2 substitutions in the opening few seconds.
Yeah, I can safely say I've never seen that before, ever.
Just different levels of like Pep Guardiola galaxy brain in the game.
Yeah, so what was all this about?
So there's a rule that means in the National League, sides have to start 4 players that started the last league game, otherwise they face a fine. So Rochdale were putting out a pretty light side, quite rotated, I believe, from their last league game, but they had to have at least 4 players that started the last one. So 2 of those players out of the 4 were subbed off instantly, just so they could rotate that side, which is just a silly rule, to be honest. But,
wow, okay, yeah, maybe it's the law is an ass, as you say.
Anyway, and to be fair, kind of reflecting that, I think they seemed a little bit uninterested in this game, to be honest. There wasn't a fantastic tempo to the game, which is a shame, because I think usually United facing these men's teams is usually a really good opportunity to be tested against kind of the physical, high intensity, high paced nature of these games. Didn't really get much of that, and as a result, I think United were the far better side. We saw them open the scoring in the 11th minute through Chido Obi, obviously. It was a really, really good move, kind of display of collective pressing from the front, and basically United suffocated Rochdale while they were trying to play out from the back. Jim Thwaites jumped onto one of their defenders, nicked the ball, passed it first time to Chido Obi, who could finish from close range. Kind of really well coached move, and something almost similar to what we saw from the first team against Brighton. Just really great high pressing and led straight to their goal. So that was fantastic, and good to see Chido Obi continue to get on the score sheet. Obviously, we know, there's a lot of talk about him. Saw him involved in the first team, and I think he's continuing to develop steadily. So yeah, really good to see from him. I'd say Jim Thwaites for me was the real standout in this one. Yeah, I've raved about him for the past few months.
You do like Jim Thwaites, don't you?
I just think he's a real joy to watch. So technically gifted, so intelligent in terms of his decision making, and also his kind of spatial awareness, reading of the game, on and off the ball. I think he's top, despite not being, a huge physical presence. He still is really mobile and can get around the pitch. And yeah, one of my favourite players to watch at this level at the moment, and I really hope there's an opportunity for him on the horizon as well, because some of the passes that he pulls off, talking 60, 70 yard cross-field diagonals, also really nice kind of threaded through balls between the lines, and some of the turns to evade pressure and the way he receives the ball. It's all just a really, really high level, so I'm very impressed by him recently.
No, it's good. I like the fact that you, whenever you're talking about him, I see your eyes light up, and you're very, very keen to see this lad get a chance in the first team, and who knows what the future will hold. But obviously, a very talented player, and when you mention that about his dead balls as well, about how good he is, and I've seen the clips, I've seen some of the footage of it, and you can see he's obviously very, very talented. We'll just have to wait and see what happens with him, because like you said earlier, so many of these players, two things can be true, that they're fantastic, and certainly at the age level, but the pathway to the first team isn't easy for a lot of them.
No.
And this isn't a Sir Alex Ferguson United squad where we've got loads of games, and usually, you remember when you won't remember because you're too young, you probably weren't even born.
Probably wasn't born.
Any excuse. I remember like towards the end of I think it was like the early noughties, we'd had the league wrapped up by April. So we just started playing loads of kids in the games, because Fergie didn't care about breaking records or how many. Once he'd won the title, that was what he didn't care. He wanted to give the youngsters a chance. So you'd see all these youngsters being given an opportunity in the first team, and it was wonderful. But obviously we're a million miles away from that at the minute. Any more?
Yes, Chido Obi thought he'd scored a second in the first half.
Yep.
It was another kind of controversial moment in the game, a little bit confusing. He had the ball in the back of the net after a Jim Thwaites corner, and it was ruled out supposedly because of obstruction of their keeper, which upon replay turned out to be their own player, which,
Hey, this is why you need VAR in the National League Cup. I've been saying that for years.
Yeah. Me too. But yeah, United eventually were able to close out the game. I think Rochdale had been more threatening in the second half, had a few chances, and I think United were quite relieved to close it out. James Scanlon was slipped in by Victor Musa, kind of simple square ball in the box, and in stoppage time they were able to win it 2-0. Really, really good result for them and a very good performance.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you can only beat what's in front of you. Rochdale aren't up for it as much as they should be. That's not United's fault or problem, and it's good to see us get a comfortable win as well. And like you say, playing those men's teams, it is good practice, isn't it? It's good for their development as well. So, bit of a mixed bag, but on the whole, positive results.
Absolutely.
Sorry, the screen's just gone off behind us.
Yeah, it's a splitter, I think. It'll come back around.
Squawning.
We'll go on single.
Yeah, if you go into my single. Yeah, I'll just do that line again. So a bit of a mixed bag, but on the whole, a positive set of results. I think, obviously the 2 wins, and good to see the usual suspects, shall we say, doing very well. And I'm looking forward to hearing the next instalment of the Shea Lacey channel. But no, seriously, thanks, Finn. Always a pleasure chatting to you. And you've been doing all the bits with us as well. You've been on podcasts and stuff,
Absolutely.
getting your watch along. So you'll be on the channel a lot more. Make sure you go and check Finn out, Academy Scoop, on all your socials. He's always breaking stories, covering the Academy team. Always got an opinion as well. Make sure also you check out our merchandise. There's a link in the pinned comment and in the description for some of our merch we've got, including this top that I'm wearing. That's been Finn. I've been Jay. This has been Academy Review. Don't forget to hit like, share and subscribe. Thanks for watching.